Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to Tony the Technician channel. And today on Tool Talk episode 17 we're going into lubricating ratchets, and while you're lubricating them you might as well inspect them. So my thoughts on it, I'm going to give you some of the oils that I would use or lubricants I would use. Back in the day a lot of people used greases, which was okay because you had a lower tooth count ratchet, so that big heavy grease didn't really affect it because the teeth were so large. But nowadays not a whole lot of people use heavy greases because if your ratchet's not sealed with like an O-ring, then debris can get in through the backing plate, you know, around the drive portion of the socket or the gear, and you get debris in there, and with that big heavy grease it holds it in there. You get debris stuck in between your pawl and gear, you get them stuck between teeth, underneath your gear, which in use, you know, causes bindage or just rough usage. It can wear out teeth over time, stuff like that. So that's why a lot of people don't use grease anymore, especially on unsealed ratchets. Now, I personally just use oils, and some people say they don't like to use oil because when they put it back together it leaks. Well, I personally don't use enough oil to have it leaking out all the time. If it's a C-clip style, it might have a little bit of oil around it, but that's it. I haven't had an issue, but then again, I oil mine or lubricate them once, maybe twice a year, just so I can, you know, get an eye on it, make sure everything's in good shape. But other than that, I'm going to show you a few different ratchets, take a couple apart. We're going to oil them up. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Let me know whether you use grease or oil. I'm going to name some things. If you guys use something else, feel free, share it down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I have a few different ratchets here, mainly 3/8 drive, and then I have a 1/2 inch drive here. Anywhere, you know, I got Gear Wrench, Carlisle, Snap-on, Tecton, Matco, a lot of different brands here. A lot are similar, but the way they hold their backing plate and stuff on can differ. Like this is the Boxo USA, and then the Tectons, this is Gear Wrench. This is the Carlisle, Snap-on, and Matco. Matco and Gear Wrench using the C-clip style where you have to use snap ring pliers. You got the Snap-on, which has the Torx on the backing plate. You have the Carlisle, which actually has the Torx on the front side. And then the Boxo has the Torx on the backing plate, as well as the Tecton. So a Torx in order to remove the backing plate, or possibly some snap ring pliers. I went ahead and removed the screws out of the backing plate on this Tecton. These are the new 90 tooth ratchets that I got from them, and I haven't oiled them yet. And when I got them, they're very smooth ratchets, but I believe they could use some oil. This Boxo one I've had, and I haven't even touched it, but it's so smooth I don't even want to dare touch it. Until it starts sounding different, I'm not going to do anything about it, because it is a super smooth ratchet. So that one is just going to stay the way it is. And then the Snap-on, I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to be focusing on this Tecton, and these have all already been done. So we got the two styles here. You got the C-clip, and you got the screws holding the backing plate in. So I've already removed the screws out of the backing plate, and I've removed the clip here. And in order to remove the backing plate, sometimes you'll need a pick, possibly a small screwdriver or magnet, and if you still can't get it out, you might just have to lightly pull on the gear itself to get that backing plate up and out of there. And that's as simple as that. And I like to lay down a blue towel, just because while cleaning this I like to keep something bright so I can see all the pieces, and so I don't lose anything. And then there's the Matco 88, the backing plate. It's real thin compared to a lot of others. And then as you can see, I haven't oiled this one before. This one came like this, already got oil on it. The Tecton did not. It was dry when I got it. So some of the things that people use and I use, for one, I like to use these little cotton swabs. They come in assortment of different sizes and stuff. So I just use this to, you know, move the oil around. A lot of people use, grease and stuff like that, motor assembly grease. Air tool oil will actually work as well. I like to use oils. Assembly lube is actually really good. It's a thicker lubricant, but you know, not heavy like a grease would be. Then you got 3-in-1 oil. That's very common. You know, you got the red lube, also a engine assembly lube, and then WD-40 as well. So those are the things I most commonly use, is the 3-in-1 and then just a small dab of like assembly lube. And the places I like to lubricate are going to be behind on the back side of the gear, and a small amount. I use the assembly lube on the back side, and then I use the 3-in-1 oil on the teeth, because I don't want anything real heavy or anything on the teeth, you know, causing any issues. So when you first pull out the Matco, this is going to be a sealed, you can see that orange rubber O-ring in there. That's going to help keep debris out of the ratchet. And as you can tell here, everything's lubed really nicely. It doesn't seem to be too dirty in here, so I'm not going to do anything with it. I just inspect it. I'll take it out. I'll look at all of the teeth very closely, as well as the pawl. And then obviously, if nothing else has happened, all the parts should still be in here. So it's as simple as that. Just a real close-up inspection is all it needed. But if you got one that like skips a tooth or anything, that's when you want to go in there. You know, you want to make sure it's clean and then inspect all the teeth on it. And then with this one, you got to be careful when removing it. The Tecton actually comes with a little metal spacer here, and what that does is prevents wear from the backing plate on the actual gear itself, top face of the gear. And then it's also going to be provided as a spacer to keep it tight so the gear doesn't move up and down from inside the head of the ratchet to the backing plate. You got a nice good seal there. And then you got your pawl down here and spring and everything inside there. But what I'll usually do is I'll just take a little drop of this assembly lube. I'll just drop it down in there. If I get too much, I'll just, you know, pull it out. But I just smooth it around on here, make sure there's not too much. And that's to prevent wear on the back side here. And then here on the actual teeth, all I do is just a couple of small little drops of 3-in-1 oil. On the gear. And then I'll just simply take the cotton swab and lightly go over all the teeth. And then obviously making sure that there's not so much oil that you're going to have a bunch of dripping oil after you reassemble. So here, and then you just want to make sure everything operates smoothly before assembling it fully. So here's kind of a closer up look. Doesn't look overly oiled or anything like that. And then this one from Tecton has not been done yet. So we'll see if we can hear an audible difference. And then you just simply take your 2 screws, which already have a drop of blue Loctite on them. You'll just take your Torx, with which this is a T8. Okay, so here is the untouched one. And I'll hold that up closer for you to hear. And then here's the one I just lubricated. So you can hear it a little bit. I'm not sure how it's coming through the mic, but you can definitely feel the difference. There's not as much back drag when coming across the teeth. And back drag is when you're going to re-engage another tooth. And if it's not lubricated or it's operating kind of rough, you'll have a lot of back drag, causing you to loosen a fastener as you're trying to tighten it, you know. So high back drag can be a real pain, and that's a good reason to lubricate your ratchets. So things I use are assembly lube, WD-40. Another good one is chain and sprocket lube. I've heard that works really well. Super lube and air tool oil. If you guys have any others, please drop it down in the comments. And this is, well, not only is this good for any everyday mechanic or anything, but this is also going to be really good for marine mechanics, mobile mechanics, and even DIYers. You know, if you're a DIYer and you don't have a garage to work in, you may find yourself out in the elements, which can cause corrosion and rust on tools. Same thing with marine and mobile mechanics. So that's why it's very important to lubricate these, not just for the smooth operation, but to prevent that rust and corrosion. But let me know your guys' thoughts, and I really hope you guys enjoyed.